visiting the elements of the array one by one. This is called as traversal. In any array, you can traverse. Are you getting more echo or you are able to follow me?
We are able to follow, ma'am.
Okay, right. In traversing the array, you can traverse the array in two ways. One is the forward traversal and the other is the reverse traversal. So what is the meaning of forward traversal is accessing the elements of the array from index 0 up to n minus 1. Starting from 0, if you go by incrementing the index, that is called as forward traversal. And reverse traversal is nothing but starting from the index n minus 1 and go in the reverse direction to 0. Here you are going to decrement the numbers one by one. That is called as reverse traversal. I have explained with the help of the diagram also. If it is forward traversal, first I will start with 0, then I will go to 1, then I will go to 2 and so on till I reach this 4. After 4, no need to traverse because the array contains nothing. Okay, so you have to stop at 4. This is called as forward traversal, where you will be incrementing your index. Whereas if you consider the next diagram, first I am starting with 4, then I have to move to 3, then 2 and so on. Finally, when you go to 0, you have to stop your traversal. This is called as reverse traversal. Here we are going to decrement the index. Now, we are going to write the function for forward traversal and reverse traversal. I am going to give the name as forward display and reverse display. While I am traversing the element, I am going to print the element also. That's why I have given the name as forward display and reverse display. Okay, now you have to understand how many arguments you have to pass to this function. First, let us see how to give the name for the function. The function is going to display the element in the forward direction. So I am writing the name for the function as forward display. In the first word, all the letters are small letters, whereas in the second word, the first letter is a capital letter. This is the naming convention. Even if you don't follow, your program will work. But when you write program with the naming convention, it will be easy for all other people to understand your program easily. That's why we always say follow the syntax, not syntax, the naming convention of particular programming language. Actually, for C, there is no naming convention like this. Whereas if you go for Java and other languages, the naming conventions are strictly followed. So now in this function, what I have to do? First, we have to understand that. Then only we will decide how many arguments we have to pass to this function. So this function is going to display all the elements you have in the array. So you have to pass the array to the function. Then you have to know how many elements are there in the array. Then only you can display all the elements. Once your array elements are displayed, you have to stop. For that, you have to tell how many elements are there in the array. So for this function, I am going to pass the array. So I am writing first int a of an array square bracket. Then second, the number of elements in the array. So that I am writing as int n. It is normal number only, not an array. Now, let us see what this function will do. This function will print all the elements one by one and it will not do any computation, so it will not return any answer. So when the function is not going to return any answer, you can write void. So I am writing the return type of the function as void. Now, we will write the body of the function. So inside this function, we are going to print the elements of the array one by one. So for traversing the array, we need to declare the index variable I. So I am declaring int I. Then we are going to write the for loop. In the for loop, we have to start with the first element. Because it is forward display, I have to start with 0. So I am writing I is equal to 0. Then I will display up to n minus 1. So I am writing I less than n. Either you can write I less than n or otherwise you can write I less than or equal to n minus 1. It is up to you. Then every time I told you in forward traversal, after displaying the element, you have to go to the next higher index. So you have to increment I. So I am writing I++. Okay, I plus plus is either you can write I plus plus, or you can write plus plus I, or you can write I equal to I plus 1. Okay, now inside this, I am just interested in printing the numbers. So I am writing printf percentage %t comma a of I. That's all. So this is forward display. Hope you understand. Here what you have to understand is how many arguments you have to send to the function, and what is the return type, and what is the body of the function. Okay, since the return type is void, I am not writing any return statement in this. Okay, now the difference between forward display and the reverse display is only by means of the index. Okay, so here the remaining are same, only this line will change. So in this line, you have to start with the last element, which is stored at the index n minus 1. Then from there, you have to go in the reverse direction by decrementing this I value. Then you have to print all the elements whose index are greater than or equal to 0. That is, if your n value is 5, you will start with 4, index 4, then you will go to index 3, index 2, and so on. Okay, so this is reverse display. Okay, hope you understand. Any doubt up to this display?
No, ma'am.
Okay, it is very simple only. Nothing is new. Whatever you have studied in C programming, that only we are saying. Try to understand from insert. In insert, here, what is insert is you are going to add a new element to the existing array. You can add the element either at the beginning of the array at the index 0, okay, or otherwise at the end of the array, okay, or otherwise in the middle position anywhere. Now you can see this array here. This array is totally having memory for 10 elements. But currently, how many elements I have stored is only 7 elements. Now there is a question for you. Can I insert any element at the position 18 or not? Please try to answer the question.
Yes, ma'am, you can.
You can insert.
Yes.
Any other answer? How many say I can insert? Try to concentrate on the diagram. The array is having elements from 0 up to 6 only. It does not have any element at 7, 8, 9. Okay. Now my question is, can I insert at the position 8 or not? Somebody, one person said yes. Can I get some other answer?
We can.
Okay, again,
Yes, ma'am.
we can. So all are saying we can. Can anyone tell me what is the definition of an array?
Ma'am, it shouldn't be because it's like continuous, like a set of like
Yeah.
values in a storage
Very good,
location.
very good. That is the
So it should
answer.
be proper.
The answer is you cannot insert, you should not, actually not cannot, you should not insert the element at the position 8. Because according to the definition of the array, all the elements must be stored in continuous memory locations. There should not be any free memory location in between. Okay. Once you start, store continuously. Don't leave any space in the middle. Okay. Here, if you see, I have from 0 to 6. So next, I must insert only at this position 7. I cannot insert, I should not insert at 8, and I should not insert at 9. Even though memory space is available, since array definition is collection of elements which are stored in contiguous memory locations, you should not insert at the position 8. That is the answer. Okay, you can insert even in 0, you can insert at 1, any position you can insert from 0 up to 7. Okay, can I insert at 7? I actually told the answer. You can insert at 7. The reason is up to 6 you have the element, so you can insert at 7. Now, according to this, you can insert the element at any position starting from 0 up to 7 only. You cannot insert at 8 and 9. Okay, so try to understand. This is a very important point. Now, so the answer I asked you, answer to the question is no, you can insert only from 0 up to n only. According to this, n is 7, so you can insert from 0 up to 7. Now, let us concentrate on this particular diagram. So here, My array is having elements like this. Try to follow the cursor movement. Can I insert element at position 3? That is the index 3.
Yes, ma'am.
Yes, you can insert. When you insert, what will happen to this 90 which is available at 3? That is nothing but 90 which is available at 3 should be moved to the index 4. So in that case, already at index 4 I have 70. That should be moved to index 5. Whatever is at index 5, 80, that should be moved to index 6. Then at index 6 we have 30. That should be moved to index 7. At 7 you don't have anything, so no need to move anything. Okay, so now when I am moving the elements like this, which one I have to move first? 90 should be moved first or 30 should be moved first?
30.
30.
30 should be moved, ma'am.
Yeah. What will happen if I move 90 first?
70 will be lost.
Yeah, very good. 70 will be lost. So what you have to do is, you have to start from this 30, that you have to move to this position first. That is, 30 is stored at the index 6. Okay, what is this index 6 is? With respect to the number of elements n, this 6 is nothing but n minus 1. So you have to start from the index n minus 1. Whatever is available at the index n minus 1, that you have to move to the next location. After you move this to the next location, now this will be free, so that you can move the element from 5 to 6. Okay, so now let us follow the steps here. You can see the movement steps. First, you take the element at a of 6, put it in a of 7. Okay, so that is written here. After that, you take the element at a of 5, put it in a of 6. So that is written. Okay, then a of 4 should be stored in a of 5. Then a of 3 should be stored in a of 4. Okay, so how long I have to write like this? You can see here, I want to insert at position 3. So I have to move everything until this 3 is reached. After 3 is reached, no need to move this 2, because you are not going to insert that in that place. That is not going to be changed. So you have to change everything starting from position up to the n minus 1. Okay, so now we are going to write the for loop.
Yes, ma'am.
Yes,
Okay.
ma'am.
Yes. So now I think this for loop is clear. You are going to start with the last element, move that element to the next element. So I am writing a of I plus 1 is equal to a of I. Then I have to move to the next lower element. So I am decrementing I. I will continue this step till I is greater than or equal to pause. Okay, so this is the thing we are going to do. After you do this, what is going to happen is all these elements will be moved. Then we will have a free space. So here at a of 3, you will have a free space. Actually, will it be empty? Can anyone tell me what will be the content of a of 3? I have written
Until
here.
we add, it will be 90 only.
Yeah, it will be 90 only. It will not be empty, because we are simply copying that to the next address. So it will be 90 only. But to understand easily, I have given here empty cell. Now, the next step, what you have to do is, this is the item you want to insert, that you put it in this position. So this 60, you have to put it in position 3. Okay. Now, can you tell me what is your size of the array now after the insert is over?
8.
It is
8,
now
ma'am.
8.
N is equal to 8.
Okay, n is equal to 8. Now, since in the function, inside the function, we are changing the value of n, and currently now it is 8. This will not be reflected in the main function, because n be passed by value only. So if you want to reflect the new value of n to the main function, you have to return the value of n. Try to understand, this is very, very important. N we passed by value, because it is normal integer, it is not an array. And inside the function, you added one element. So now n is increased from 7 to 8. Since n is increased, you have to tell this to the main function, because main function will not know. So to tell the value to the main function, you have to return the current value of n. So in this program, at the end of the function, you should write return n minus 1. If you don't write, n will be considered as 7 only inside the main. So remember, when you insert an element, finally you return the new value of n. Okay, so now let us see the insert function. If you understand all those steps, you will be easily following this particular case. Okay, now, okay, let us, as the answers only from you, can you tell me how many arguments you need to pass to the insert function? Understand the number of arguments and number of return type. That is main. Can you tell me how many arguments we have to pass? Okay.
4 arguments, ma'am.
4 arguments. What are the 4 arguments?
Array,
Okay, fine. Then okay, let
value
me,
of n,
yeah, let me explain.
Integer.
And
Yes.
position.
Position, third
Position.
one. Okay, what is the fourth one?
item to be inserted.
Yeah,
Item.
very good. Very
Item.
good. Item to be inserted. Now try to understand. In insert, we have an array. So we have to pass the array. Then you have to tell what is the size of the array. So you have to pass n also. Third, you have to insert an element. So you have to pass the item also. Fourth, you have to tell in which position you want to insert. So you have to pass position also. So total number of arguments to be passed to the function are 4. Now, what about the final answer you have to return from the function? Do you need to return the final array from the function?
No.
No need, because array is passed by address only. So don't return the array. What about the n value? Do you need to return?
Yes,
Yes,
ma'am.
sir.
N plus
Yes, because n is now changed. So now, since we are returning some value, we have to write the return type. We should not write void. Now, can anyone tell me what is the return type?
Int.
Return type is integer because n is integer. Now, I think you people understood. Let us see the function. So now in the function, we have the function name is insert at pos. Try to see how I have written. Insert everything is small, A is capital. Then in the next word pos, P is capital. We are going to pass 4 arguments. First argument is the array. So I have written the square bracket. Don't forget the square bracket. If you forget, it will be treated as only integer. Then I am passing n, the number of elements in the array. Then the position, that is again integer. Then x. X is the element to be inserted. Okay, now 4 arguments I am passing to this function. Now what is the return value from this function is integer. This integer is nothing but n plus 1. Okay, now first try to understand the if statement. Inside the function, you cannot insert if you give the position as -1, -2, -3, any negative number if you are giving, you cannot insert because array index will start only from 0. Okay, so if pos is less than 0, you should not insert anything. Similarly, in the first diagram we have seen, if your n value is 7, you can insert from 0 to 7 only. You cannot insert at 8 or 9. Okay, so if pos is greater than n, then you should not insert. Okay, and what is this pipeline is R. R means either this or this. Okay, if any one of these conditions is true, that means either you are trying to insert in the negative index or you are trying to insert more than n. So in that case, you have to tell some error message to the user. So I am writing printf invalid position. Okay, then here I am returning n. Can I simply leave like this instead of returning n? Now, why I am returning n is, I am not able to insert any number. So, I have to tell that there is no change in the value of n. So, I am simply returning n. N is nothing but whatever is the previous size, the same size. Okay. Otherwise means you are going to do some operation. Okay. So, come to this part. Okay. Here, I am going to write the for loop, what we have seen in the previous slide. So we are starting with I is equal to n minus 1. we are going to continue till I is greater than or equal to position. Every time we are going to decrement I value. So what we are doing inside the for loop is whatever is at A of I, that we are moving to A of I plus 1. Okay, and when this for loop will be over, can anyone tell me when I will come outside the for loop?
When n
If
is
it is equals
less.
to position.
Yeah, equal to position or less than position.
Less than.
Yeah, if I is less than position, this condition will become false. So in that case, you will come outside the for loop. Okay, now here what I am doing here is try to understand this line. This is very, very important. Till this, what you have done is whatever is already in the array, that you have moved one to the left position. Okay, whatever is the element to be inserted, you have not at all inserted that. You have created the space for that element. Now you have to insert the element. For that only I am writing this statement. X is the element to be inserted. In which position I have to insert that? In POS. So I am writing A of POS is equal to X. Okay, so try to understand. First, here we are checking whether we can insert element or not. Okay, if the condition is this, you cannot insert the element. So you return n to the user. If you are able to insert, come to this for loop, try to move all the elements to one position to the right and create space for the element to be inserted in the given. Now we can insert the element X at position POS. So in A of POS, we are going to store X value. After that, we are going to return n plus 1 to the user. So with this, the insertion function is over. Now we will see how to perform deletion of an element at a given position in case of an array. And we will see how to delete the element from an array at a given position. Now you can consider this array. The total size of the array is 10, but I have stored only 7 elements starting from the index 0 up to 6. I want to delete an element. Can you tell me what are the things you have to pass to the function if you want to delete an element? You can see the diagram and come to your conclusion.
Position.
Position, yeah, position to be deleted, and then
The number of terms.
number of elements in the array. Yeah, n you have to specify. Then
The array itself.
array itself. Do you need to specify the item to be deleted? Like in the insert, we have given
No.
X. No, because we don't know what is there in that position. Okay, so if you want to delete an item at a given position, you have to pass 3 arguments to the function. One is the array A, and the other is the number of elements n, and third one is from which position you want to delete the element. Okay, now in this, can you tell me from which index you can delete the elements according to this diagram? If you see this diagram, you can delete any element starting from the index 0 up to the index 6. We can't delete any element at the index 7, 8, 9, as well as we can't delete any element at the index -1, -2, -3. Okay, so now you have to check whether this position is less than 0 or greater than n-1. If any one of these conditions is true, that means that your array is not in that limit. So you can't delete the element. So you have to send some message to the user. Now, let us see the steps for this. So my question now is, can we delete an element at the position 7? Now you all know that we can delete the element starting from the index 0 up to 6 only. We can't delete an element at the position 7 because nothing is there. Okay, so the answer is no. Now let us see what will happen when we delete an element. We will start with the first diagram. This is the array I have. I am saying that I want to delete the element at the position 3. Okay, so now when we delete the element, what we have to do is, look at the second diagram. When you are deleting the element, this 90 will be now removed from the array. After that, this position will be empty. Can you leave any position as empty in the array when we delete an element?
No.
You should not
No,
leave.
ma'am.
Reason is array is continuous. In array, elements are stored in continuous memory locations. So when you delete this 90, that space will be empty, but we should not leave this as empty. So what we have to do is, we have to move this 70 to the position of this 90. After that, this 70 will be empty now. Empty in the sense it is not with valid data. So now you have to move this 80 to 70. Then you have to move 30 to 80. Likewise, you have to proceed. Okay, so now this is the steps I have given. From 70, you have to move to 90, move 80 to 70, move 30 to 80. So the instructions are like this. Okay, you are going to store the data at A of 4 in A of 3, then A of 5 will be stored in A of 4, then A of 6 will be stored in A of 5. After A of 6, you will not continue anything because your array is over. Okay, so now let us see how to write this for loop. We are going to start the for loop. Now, this time, I have this position is empty now. Whatever is in this position plus 1, I have to move to this position. Okay, so your for loop will be starting from I is equal to pass plus 1. Try to understand why it is pass plus 1. Pass is now empty. Whatever is available in pass plus 1, I have to put it in pass. So I am starting the for loop at I is equal to pass plus 1. Then what I will do after this, in this particular step, whatever is available in pass plus 1, that I will put in this position. That is, from the index 3, you are going to put it in the index, sorry, from the index 4, you are going to put it in the index 3. So I am writing A of I, whatever is available in A of I, that I am going to place in A of I minus 1. Okay, so after you do this one, this 70 will be moved to this position. Now, next you have to move this data to this particular position. So that means you have to increment this I. Okay, so you give now I plus plus. Likewise, you are going to continue. How long you are going to continue? Till what index you are going to continue for I? Till I is 6. So this 6 is nothing but n minus 1. So in the condition I have given I less than n. Okay, so let me repeat the for loop again. Try to understand. First, whatever is available in position plus 1, I have to move to position. So I am starting I is equal to pass plus 1. Then I will continue this until this I value becomes 6. Okay, 6 is nothing but n minus 1. So I less than n. Every time I am going to increment this I to the next position. So it is I plus plus. So what is the body of the for loop is what is available in A of I that you are going to store in A of I plus 1. Okay, so when this for loop is over, your array will be changed like this. Now what happened to the size of the array after the delete? Previously it was 7, now it is changed to 6. Now there is a change in the array size. And this array size we have passed by value. So this will not be reflected in the main function. So what you have to do is, you have to return this value explicitly to the main function so that the changes will be updated in the main. So now return n minus 1. Are you able to understand this?
Yeah, ma'am.
Okay. So now let us see the program. Let me go to the next slide. So we are going to now see the program. So in the program, as you people said correctly, we are going to pass 3 arguments to the function. The first argument is the array itself, and the second argument is size of the array, and the third argument is the position. And the name of the function is delete at pause. And this function will delete, and finally it will return the new value of n, that is nothing but one element is removed, so the number of elements will be reduced by 1. So since you are going to return the number of elements in the array, we are going to return integer here. Okay, so now first you check whether you are able to delete the element by means of this if statement. If position is less than n or position is greater than n minus 1, you are out of the range of the array. So you print the error message as invalid position, and then in this case the array size is not changed because you are not deleting anything. So you return n to the user. Else, here I am not writing else. Can anyone tell me why I am not writing else? what will happen if this condition is true? If this condition is true, anyway, control will return to the main function. Okay, so when this particular condition is false, then only control will come here. That's why I am not writing else part. Okay, when the condition is true, since I have written return statement here, automatically main will be called. The control will go to the main function. Okay, so now whatever for loop we have seen before, that you can write. And finally, since you have deleted one element, you are going to return it. That's all. Okay, so now let us see how to write the menu driven program. So what is the meaning of menu driven program is, you have, when you go to the hotel, we are getting the menu, which is going to tell what are the items available. After you see the menu, you will select one item, then you will tell the waiter that I want this particular item. Okay, similarly, when they are asking you to write a menu driven program, first you have to display the menu to the user. Then as a user to choose the operation. When the user select one operation, whatever is the operation he has selected, that you have to perform. Okay, and you have to do the step continuously, and when the users say I don't want to perform any operation, you have to finish your program. This is the meaning of menu driven program. Okay, so generally they will not tell what you have to use, they will simply tell you the word, write the menu driven program. You should understand menu driven program means there must be a loop, because you have to continuously do some operation until the user wants to stop. After that, within the loop, you have to display the menu to the user. Every time user should see the menu, then he has to choose one operation out of that. So always remember, menu driven program means there will be a loop. Either you can use for loop or while loop or do while loop, it is up to you. Then within that loop, you write the switch case. Okay, why we are writing switch cases? Here, the menu has many items. You want to select one item among the many choices available. So I am going to write switch case. You all know that switch case is for multi-way selection. Since we are displaying many choices, it is multi-way. There are many options. You have to select one option only out of that. So you must write a switch case inside the for loop or while loop or do while loop. Okay, so now let us see our main. In the main program is also known as driver program. So now I am writing void main. Then within that I am declaring the variables whatever I want. Don't worry about the variables. We will come to this later. First I am going to write a loop. Can anyone tell me what is the special name for this loop?
The condition is true, ma'am. For every case.
Infinite for loop.
Condition is always true. It is infinite for loop. Okay, so whenever they are giving some statement like this, don't say it is wrong, because for loop we are expecting that there must be some initialization, some condition, and increment decrement operation. You can even write for loop without those things also. Okay, here I have written for loop without any of those three parameters. It is called as infinite for loop. Okay, infinitely the for loop will be running. Then how to terminate it? If it is infinitely running, we need some time, some way to terminate the loop. How to terminate the loop? For that only,
break statement.
Yeah, break. Okay, for that only we are going to use break statement, or even you can use exit statement. Okay, you all know about break statement. If you put a break statement inside a loop, what is going to happen is it will come outside the loop. Break will cause the control go outside the loop. Okay, instead of break, you can use exit also. But the difference between break and exit is break will come only outside of the loop, but exit will come outside the program. Okay, break will continue if any statements you have after the loop, but exit will not do that. Okay, so try to understand the difference. We can use either break or exit according to your remaining part of the program, how you want to continue your program. Okay, so now I am writing for infinite for loop. Inside the for loop, first I want to display the menu to the user. In the menu, whatever options you have, display all the options by means of the printf statement. So far we have seen create, display forward, display backward, insert, delete. So I have given number to all these functions. This number is very important. Don't write menu without a number. Okay, so I am writing 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Then in 6, I am giving exit. Why I am giving exit is when the user don't want to perform any operation. Here you see it is a continuous for loop. We should tell the user how he can come outside the for loop. Because we are the programmer, we have to tell the user, you type this so that you will come outside the for loop. For that only, here we are giving 6. When the user presses 6, he has to come outside the for loop. Okay, so now you are asking the user to enter the choice. So this choice, the user can type either 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 or 6. Okay, so it is an integer. So you declare an integer variable choice and try to get the value for a choice by means of scanf statement. Okay, so now the line number 64 up to 71, this is called as menu driven program. You are writing the menu. Okay, now let us see what will happen next. Now you are displaying the menu to the user, asking the user what he wants to do. The user is typing the choice. So can anyone tell me what I have to write next?
The switch case?
Yeah, you have to write the switch case. The user is saying that I want to perform this. So you have to now choose that option out of all these options available. So you are going to write the switch case. So I am writing now switch case. To the switch case, you have to pass where is your option available. From the previous step, I got the option from the user and stored it in choice. Now that you have to pass as argument to the switch. Okay, now we are going to write all the cases one by one. Okay, first, you know that in switch is a keyword. We have to use a keyword case. Then we have to give what is the option available. The options I have displayed in the previous slide, starting from 1 up to 6. So you write them one by one. So case, write space, then 1, put colon. Okay, now you write what the user has to do in case 1. So in case 1, the user has to create the array. So when creating the array, first you have to get how many elements the user want in the array. That is nothing but n value. So you print the message to the user that enter the number of elements. Then as the user to type n, you read it and store it in the variable n. Then you ask the user to enter n number of elements. Okay, now user will be entering, but we are not going to write the program here. We are not going to write the loop for reading the elements from the user. Instead, we have written the function already. You have to call the function. Okay, there is function available. The function name is create array, which we saw in the second hour. You have to call this function. So you simply call the function create array by passing the argument. If you see the function create array, we specify 2 arguments. The first argument is an array. The second argument is one integer. Okay. Here I am specifying the array A, then I am specifying the integer n. Can I change the order here, n and a? Is it possible?
No, ma'am.
No, you should not change the order because you have declared first argument in the function definition as array. So you have to first pass only array. So remember that. So pass the argument in the correct order. Otherwise, sometimes you will get some unwanted answers. Sometimes you will get error message, but sometimes you will not get error message. You will get unwanted answers. Okay. So I am calling the function. Thus, what is the return type of create array function? What we declared? Integer or void for create array?
Void.
Void means the function will not return anything. So since the function is not returning anything, don't save the answer in some other variable because it is not returning you anything. So simply you call the function, that is fine. After that, give break. Can I leave this break? Is break must in every switch case? Will I get any error if I don't give this? The answer is you can write switch case even without break, but if you remove the break, the control will not come outside the switch. After this, it will go to the next case, execute that also. It is not the case we want. We want to create the array only if the user press 1. We don't want to display forward. Okay, so if you leave the break, you will not get any error, but you will get unwanted results. So put break after every case in switch. Then I am writing case 2. In case 2, I am going to traverse the array in the forward direction. So you print the message to the user. Then you call the function what we have created for that. Forward display. There also we have to pass the array and n only. And that function also, the return type is void. That means it will not return any answer to you. So don't store the answer in any variable. Then give break. Similarly, for case 3, you write reverse display, then give break. Now, case 4 and 5 are special cases. In case 4, we are performing inserting the element. Okay, so when you want to insert the element, you have to get 2 values from the user. One value is what position he want to insert the value, and the second one is what value he want to insert. So you print a message to the user to enter the position and the element to be inserted. Then get the value and store it in the variable pos and x. So now both these I have declared as integer, so I am using %t. Now you call the function. For insert at pos, we have to pass 4 arguments. The first argument is array name, then the number of elements in the array, then the position, and then x value. Remember, when you are writing like this, follow the same order you have given in the function definition. Otherwise, you will get unwanted answer. Now, this insert pos function, what is the return type of the function we have given? There, we have given as integer. What is that integer is? Insert pos will insert the element and it will return the new value of n. So, after you perform this, your value of n will be changing. So, whatever this function is returning, you have to save the answer in the variable n. Don't use any other variable here, because in your program, you are using the n as the number of elements in the array. So whatever this function is inserting, update this in the n value. Then give break. Now, let us see the next case. The next case is for entering the position, the next case is for deleting the elements in the array. So for this, you have to ask the user in which position he has to perform the delete operation. So get the value of position. After that, you call the function delete at pos, pass 3 arguments, a, n, and then pos. This will also delete the element and reduce the size of the array by 1. So, since the array size is now changed, you again update n value and then you give break. Okay. Now, finally, I am writing the case 6. Actually, some indentation problem. You can straightly write this after this case. Then in case 6, what we want to do is we want to exit. Exit means we will not continue with the remaining part of the program. Okay. So I have given exit. Okay. Now, so in this, in line number 104, I have given get ch. But when you run the program, you will get a warning that get ch is not a reachable. It is non-reachable code. So you please comment this and run your program. So with this, we have seen a program for performing basic operations in an array. So in the next class, we will see how to perform basic operations in a 2D array.